The story starts in Yongchuan City at Yum. Our primary character winds up hanging, attempting to take his life. As he starts to black out, pieces of his recollections flash before him, memories of battling warriors and being guided to kill everyone, even innocent people. The bodies of the fallen soldiers lie strewn about, suggestive of a war zone. Among the mayhem, only a woman and her child stay. The primary character, sobbing tears of blood, regains his consciousness. Hacking, he gathers his strength and pushes with his legs against the roof, hoping to break the rope. Desperate to take his life, he even resorts to consuming drugs, but they seem to have no effect on him. He bitterly ponders the futility of his existence, realizing that, even if he wants to die, he can't. The scene then moves to breaking news in 20 City that early morning, reporting the discovery of strange creatures wandering the streets. A huge fire breaks out, plunging the city into complete chaos. The city residents panic while the police scramble to determine the cause of this disturbing event. The government assures the public that they are committed to protecting lives and property, urging citizens to find shelter as quickly as possible. Our main character, intending to buy a bottle of water, visits a store where he observes people pleading for help and fleeing from the gigantic creatures. The creatures attack, devouring the helpless victims. The main character initially wonders if these terrifying creatures are mere hallucinations resulting from the drugs he took the previous day. However, he soon realizes the grim reality when one of the creatures lunges at him. Quickly dodging the attack, he retaliates with a powerful kick. After kicking the creature, the main character recalls that he drank no drugs the previous day. Instead, he had attempted suicide by hanging himself. The creatures launched a coordinated assault, but he quickly devised a plan, throwing a bottle of water to divert their attention and striking the creatures from behind. When one attempts to surprise him with an attack from the side, the main character anticipates the move and dodges it. He seizes the creature's arms and turns its own limbs against it. Eventually, he triumphs over all the creatures, stepping over their defeated forms. He unsheathes his sword, contemplating how he had considered various ways to take his life for a long time, but didn't want to die in a pathetic place like the store. Using the sword, he dispatched all the creatures that came at him, wiping out every single one of them. Looking over the destruction, the store now in ruins. Meanwhile, in the same store, a young man found himself engaged in a fierce battle against menacing creatures. Armed with a baseball bat, he swung it vigorously to defend himself. Amidst the fight, memories flooded his mind, recalling how he ended up in this dangerous situation. Everything started when he decided to skip practice with his mentor, Shikshu, and Go. Unfortunately, his plans were thwarted when he discovered that mentor Go had passed away early due to illness. Initially enraged by the news, his anger soon dissipated, and he casually remarked that he would take a break and indulge himself before heading to the internet cafe. Intent on grabbing some snacks, he found himself in this particular store, facing off against the relentless creatures. Despite his brave efforts, the creatures managed to push him back, sealing his fate. However, just as they lunged at him with lethal intent, an unexpected intervention occurred. Out of nowhere, a frying pan came flying through the air, blocking the creature's attack and saving the young man's life. To his surprise, the one who had come to his aid was a skilled individual with lightning-fast reflexes. With a screwdriver in hand, this mysterious savior swiftly dispatched the 3 creatures without giving them a chance to retaliate. After defeating the 3rd creature, the savior quickly ran towards the remaining 2, effortlessly disposing of them. Turning towards the young man, he made it clear that to survive, he must follow his lead and obey all his orders. Shocked, but realizing he had no other choice in this dire situation, the young man reluctantly agreed. Alerted by a loud commotion coming from the adjacent side of the shop, he turned his attention towards the sound. The main character suddenly ran off to investigate, prompting the young man to grab his bat and follow closely behind. Arriving at a sporting goods area, they witnessed a horrifying sight. A powerful, hulking creature held a human's hand mercilessly, slaying anyone in its way. A woman clutching her child was the creature's next target, but a brave youth stood up, shielding her with a racket in hand. Taking the young man's bat, the main character rushed forward to save the child. Despite the creature breaking the racket, the main character managed to strike its face twice, though with little effect. He remarked on the immense power he felt, as if he were swinging the bat into solid rock. The creature retaliated, crushing the bat and launching a counterattack. Through quick evasion, the main character narrowly avoided its strikes. Seizing the opportunity, he grabbed the bottom of the broken racket and skillfully pierced the creature's eye with it. As he moved to finish off the creature, it let out a thunderous roar, freezing everyone in their tracks. The creature focused its assault on the main character, who was determined to break free. The main character screamed, forcing his body to move, and managed to block the creature's attack with the remnants of the bat. Despite his efforts, the force of the blow sent him flying through the air, leaving him momentarily incapacitated. At this point, the creature's attention shifted to the young man. Faced with impending danger, he regretted his decision to skip practice, realizing the dire consequences it had brought upon him. The frantic cries of the lady, pleading for the safety of her child, consumed the space. In a marvelous turn of events, the young fellow managed to break free from the immobilizing effect imposed by the beast. Suddenly, an unconventional quality appeared on his hand, throbbing with a surge of energy. Sensing the newfound power coursing through his body, he confidently reached for the bat, convinced that he could now vanquish the beast in his current state. Decisively, the primary character, known as Tihun, leaped at the beast's neck, swiftly wrapping a thin wire around it and initiating a choking grip. The beast, helpless under the firm grasp, couldn't fight back. Tihun motioned toward the young fellow, Hyun-wook, to deliver the final blow. Drawing strength from the energy emanating from his hand, Hyun-wook unleashed a devastating attack, finally killing the monster. Tihun and Hyun-wook endured another grueling 7 hours of battling beasts, successfully saving numerous lives. The store lay in ruins, a testament to the destruction that had unfolded within its walls. Those who survived did so by the skin of their teeth, and the toll of those who had died weighed heavily on everyone. The passage of time during those strenuous hours felt like 10 long years. Considering the gravity of the situation, Hyun-wook remarked that all the trivial issues he had faced in the past paled in comparison to the horrors they had just confronted. Tihun, the unstoppable hero, and Hyun-wook, the grateful survivor, shared a complicated bond. Despite their growing relationship, Hyun-wook still found it challenging to connect with Tihun fully. He harbored an insatiable curiosity about Tihun's background and origins. Reflecting on their current circumstances, Hyun-wook noticed that approximately 100 survivors remained amidst the staggering number of lifeless bodies. Without Tihun's intervention, the death toll would have been unimaginable. Tihun bravely led the evacuation efforts and fiercely battled the beasts. There was an unwavering determination in his eyes, as if he had grown accustomed to a life where such challenges were the norm. Hyun-wook found it difficult to grasp the absurdity of his current situation and surroundings. Suddenly, a peculiar pattern emerged on Tihun's hand, piquing his interest. Tihun instructed Hyun-wook to remove his gloves, and to their astonishment, the same mysterious pattern adorned Hyun-wook's hand as well. Both of them had become awakeners, unique beings with abilities beyond ordinary humans. Understanding the current conditions proved challenging, as limited information existed. Only a small percentage, around 4 to 5%, of the human population had the ability to awaken their dormant capabilities. To ensure effective communication in their current situation, Tihun instructed Hyun-wook to assign simple names to any new objects or phenomena they encountered, recognizing the importance of quick information exchange. Hyun-wook examined the bat he held, speculating that it might be connected to his sudden acquisition of abilities. Surprisingly, he quickly adapted to the newfound strength, even contemplating his potential success in significant organizations. What surprised him even more was the ability to observe both awakeners and beasts' abilities through their phones. Hyun-wook wondered whether he had somehow entered a game world after spending countless hours in internet cafes. Following Tihun's orders, Hyun-wook assisted in moving the beast carcasses to the butcher's shop inside the mall. Suspicious of Tihun's intentions with the bodies, Hyun-wook noticed the bloodstains on his clothes, hinting at a possible reaction. Tihun used a knife, a small hatchet, and a blade, utilizing his skill to manipulate and control objects. He proceeded to share all the information he had gathered with the remaining survivors. Although fearful, they had no choice but to place their faith in the mysterious figure before them. Without Tihun's intervention, most of them would have succumbed to the beast's attacks. In fact, Tihun had recently taught a lesson to 3 miscreants, further solidifying his reputation and gaining trust from the people. Remarkably, even without his powers, Tihun could have easily subdued the 3 agitators. The time now stood at 10:33 p.m. As the survivors gathered, Tihun announced his intention to explain the current situation. Suddenly, a woman approached Tihun and Hyun-wook, revealing herself to be another awakener, curious about the pattern Tihun was discussing. She inquired about the mark on her own palm, seeking answers. Hyun-wook recognized her as the brave woman who had confronted the agitators earlier. Tihun responded, stating that survival in this chaotic world required selfishness. However, he had already revealed all his knowledge about the pattern, deeming secrecy pointless. He added that the survivors could repay him by providing the mystical spheres found inside the beasts. Unfamiliar with the term mystical spheres, the woman sought clarification. Hyun-wook explained that he had coined the term for easier communication. Mystical spheres referred to a type of stone found inside the beasts' bodies. According to Tihun, everyone could see their own abilities, unique powers, and the beast stats on their phones. By consuming these mystical spheres, humans could enhance their own abilities. Tihun then addressed the woman, informing her that they could no longer remain in their current location. Bewildered, she questioned his reasoning, citing the ample food supply and functioning power system, and expressing hope that rescue teams would arrive soon. Tihun countered, stating that their current shelter was temporary due to safety concerns. He expressed doubt about the likelihood of any rescue teams arriving, as he believed the outside world to be equally dangerous. Confused, the woman asked how he could make such claims about the outside environment when he had only explored the underground of the mall. In response, Tihun suggested relocating to a nearby railway station as a temporary solution. He explained that the creatures they had encountered could suddenly appear anywhere, including at the mall's entrance. If the creatures had managed to infiltrate the premises, it was crucial to leave immediately. The woman grew frustrated, shouting that everyone was exhausted, particularly the elderly and patients among them. Just as tensions escalated, Tihun sensed a nearby presence and warned everyone to stay away from the entrance. Suddenly, the entrance was destroyed, and an imposing beast emerged. The creature attacked several people with great ferocity. Using his skill to control the beast, Tihun pushed it back, noting that the beast's unexpected appearance provided him with an opportunity to test his newfound ability. Tihun used his ability, strongly immobilizing the beast. However, the beast persevered, pushing through despite his efforts. Noticing the beast's extraordinary nature, Tihun knew breaking its neck would be easy with his acquired steel-bending strength. Yet, Tihun reached his limit and urgently instructed Hyun-wook to clear everyone from the scene. Suddenly, the beast broke free from Tihun's grip and launched an attack on him. Reacting quickly, Hyun-wook intervened by striking the beast directly in its weak spot with a dumbbell. Unfortunately, the attack proved futile, and the beast retaliated, sending Hyun-wook flying through the air and causing significant damage. Tihun's energy quickly drained, but as the beast charged towards him, he skillfully dodged its attack by running towards the nearby wall. The force of the beast's charge easily smashed through 3 layers of walls. Seizing the opportunity, Tihun grabbed a gas canister and flung it at the beast. He swiftly followed up by lighting a lighter, resulting in a massive explosion that engulfed the beast. The onlookers were filled with fear. Tihun immediately rushed to Hyun-wook, concerned for his well-being. Following Tihun's command, Hyun-wook expressed his pain while the woman nearby worried about his broken ribs possibly puncturing his lungs. Fortunately, that didn't happen. Tihun acknowledged that Hyun-wook had sustained serious injuries but recovered quickly. Realizing the reason behind his rapid recovery after the previous battle, Tihun concluded it was due to his fast healing ability. Understanding the dangerous nature of their surroundings, Tihun instructed Hyun-wook to evacuate everyone and asked the woman, Sun Mai, if she knew how to drive. He directed them to find a large vehicle and wait while he dealt with the beast. The people began their escape while Tihun prepared for the impending fight. During their escape, they were attacked by smaller beasts, but Hyun-wook quickly intervened, taking down the creatures. Finally, they reached the exit while Tihun continued his battle with the beast. Tihun tried every sharp weapon within his reach, but none proved effective. The beast charged at Tihun. Meanwhile, outside the store, people had gathered, witnessing the chaotic scene unfolding before them. Shocked and filled with despair, they believed their fate was sealed. Amidst the chaos, Sun Mai spotted a bus nearby. Without hesitation, she and Hyun-wook ran towards it. Suddenly, Tihun and the beast burst through the store's window, crashing onto a car below. The impact crushed the car, and the beast pushed Tihun away. It was evident that the beast was formidable. Tihun urgently urged Hyun Wook and Sun Mai to stop standing there and run. He quickly grabbed a warning sign, intending to use it as a weapon. As Hyun Wook and Sun Mai reached the bus, Hyun Wook asked Sun Mai if she knew how to drive it. Sun Mai admitted that she couldn't, but she believed it was similar to driving a car. However, they needed the key to start the bus. Luckily, Sun Mai found it just in time. Meanwhile, Tihun displayed his impressive agility by dodging and counter-attacking the beast. The spectators were stunned by his skills. Despite his efforts, the beast managed to snatch the warning sign from Tihun's grip. Wasting no time, the beast hurled the sign at Tihun, but he skillfully dodged it. Suddenly, Hyun Wook and Sun Mai, with Sun Mai in the driver's seat, drove the bus directly at the beast and Tihun. Reacting quickly, Tihun leaped out of danger while the beast collided with the bus. Sun Mai applied maximum acceleration, causing the bus to come to a sudden stop. Seizing the opportunity, Tihun used his abilities to break the beast's neck. Overwhelmed by the force and the bus's speed, the beast succumbed, and Sun Mai drove it through a nearby wall. Finally, Tihun felt a sense of triumph, sporting a sinister grin. He mused about his victory over the close brush with death and wondered if he had just attempted suicide. Meanwhile, inside the bus, Hyun Wook checked on Sun Mai, ensuring she was okay. Sun Mai playfully remarked that it was the second time he had almost killed her and jokingly told him to get off her. Once they exited the bus, they saw Tihun wielding a knife near the defeated beast's corpse. Sun Mai observed his actions, realizing that her perspective on the world had been skewed, and Tihun's behavior served as a wake-up call. She had an overwhelming urge to scream but refrained, considering the bizarre circumstances. Tihun seized the mystical sphere and swallowed it. Sun Mai recognized that she would soon understand his reasoning, but she chose to say nothing. In this surreal situation, as a medical student for years, she had encountered numerous corpses. The stench of death emanating from the scene suggested that Tihun was much like a demon emerging from a sea of cadavers. After the intense fight had concluded, Hyun Wook retrieved his phone and examined Tihun and Sun Mai's statuses. He found that Tihun had significantly risen in rank, showing remarkable progress, while Sun Mai had considerable abilities as well. Tihun began preparing essential items for their next move. He gathered gloves, a hat, non-reflective dark clothing, and high-calorie, long-lasting food. The rest of the group initiated packing their belongings. Once the preparations were complete, they headed towards the town hall. Fortunately, no beasts were present there, prompting a sigh of relief. However, Tihun suggested that they should keep moving, this time only allowing those who had awakened their abilities to accompany him. Although he didn't force anyone, most people refused to join, focusing solely on their own survival. Yet, a few individuals expressed gratitude towards Tihun and hoped that he would stay with them to face the ongoing disaster. Despite their pleas, Tihun left silently, followed by Sun Mai and Hyun Wook. Sun Mai commented that she didn't see Tihun as selfish because the town hall contained ample supplies of food, medicine, and weapons. Before leaving, they used vehicles and fireproof doors to fortify the defense perimeter around the town hall. Additionally, they found a pathway leading to the train station. Although uncertain about the situation outside, they recognized the inherent danger of staying and waiting for reinforcements, which would likely result in a massacre if they brought everyone along in such perilous conditions. Thus, their journey continued. Tihun instructed the group to head towards the central army base, with plans to gather weapons from the police station along the way. He took the lead position, emphasizing the importance of Hyun Wook maintaining a vigilant watch behind them and staying aware of their surroundings. Any small mistake could cost them their lives, so they needed to keep a high level of alertness until they reached their destination. Upon arriving at the police station, they found all the officers dead. Tihun examined one of the corpses and informed the group that they had been deceased for approximately 6 to 7 hours. There were no remaining bullets in sight. Tihun instructed Hyun Wook to remove the bodies and barricade the doors and windows while he searched for the armory. Meanwhile, Sun Mai sensed something unusual in a bag on the ground. She opened it and was stunned to find a strange cup that evoked a curious sensation inside her. Tihun approached her as she acted oddly. She apologized and urged him to examine the cup. Hyun Wook remarked that it was just an old, broken cup, but Sun Mai insisted that something was off about it. When she handed her phone to Tihun, It indicated that the cup was a level 7 holy grail capable of using mana points to create healing holy water. Hyun-wook couldn't contain his excitement, but quickly realized the danger of attracting beasts with his loud outbursts. He apologized for his carelessness. Sun Mai took the cup and began using her mana points to create holy water. However, she became exhausted as she had used too much mana. Sun Mai applied a few drops of the water to Taehoon's injury, and it immediately started to heal. Hyun-wook exclaimed that Sun Mai appeared to be the healer they needed. Taehoon commented that although the risk was significant, the reward wasn't too bad. He then informed them that they would need to visit the museum after their stop at the army base. From his coat, Taehoon retrieved 2 Smith & Wesson Model 60 revolvers with 5 bullets in the chambers. He instructed them to aim for the head and chest if possible. Hyun-wook and Sun Mai took the weapons, but Taehoon reminded them that they couldn't practice at the moment and would have to wait. Suddenly, a powerful presence approached, its mere presence overwhelming Hyun-wook and Sun Mai. Taehoon went outside to investigate the source of the presence and saw a giant dragon soaring above. He remarked on the dragon's terrifying nature, wondering how they were supposed to defeat such a creature. Taehoon returned to the station to find Hyun-wook and Sun Mai on the ground, coughing and struggling. Hyun-wook assured Taehoon that he was fine and urged him to check on Sun Mai, who had fainted. Taehoon quickly performed artificial respiration on her and applied pressure to her heart. Her heart was beating, but she wasn't breathing. It was then that Taehoon noticed the Holy Grail. He took it and gave it to her, and she regained consciousness immediately. It became apparent that the holy water had a potent healing effect. Taehoon decided it was time to rest before proceeding further, as the clock ticked away, with Taehoon overseeing them and refusing to rest. The next morning, the group continued their excursion towards the army installation, killing any beasts they experienced en route. Roughage and Wook couldn't resist the opportunity to be dazzled by Taehoon's striking development and strength. In the wake of dispatching every one of the beasts, Taehoon utilized a hatchet to slice through the cadavers, looking for mystical circles. Sun Mai proposed he utilize his supernatural power capacity instead to try not to draw in additional beasts. Taehoon made sense of that since they hadn't dominated command over their abilities. Using them would put them in a difficult situation. Moreover, assuming there were higher-class beasts in the area, their presence would hinder such animals. He then gave Sun Mai an enchanted sphere to consume, educating them to leave. Following eating, Sun Mai commented that they ought to arrive at their objective in 30 minutes. Yet, Taehoon appeared to be determined to purposely searching out the beasts. He accepted that by hunting more vulnerable beasts first, they would progressively develop their fortitude and increment their odds of coming out on top. In the meantime, at the army installation, fighters participated in a wild fight against different beasts, following the sets of their female leader to hold the guard. An enormous mud beast arose before them, impenetrable to the slugs terminated by the fighters. The officer requested them to utilize projectiles. However, the beast kept on recovering its tissue, delivering the explosives incapable. Enraged, the mud beast got through their safeguard line and began savagely killing the troopers. Immediately jumping all over the chance, different beasts joined the surge. The leftover warriors were blessed to retreat to the following cautious position, yet the mud beast went after the leader. She barely avoided its strike and was ready to shoot, only to be intruded on by another beast jumping on her. She quickly protected herself by utilizing her weapon to harm the going after animal. The mud beast thrusted at her, yet she was mere inches away from death when Taehoon and the others showed up. Using his expertise, Taehoon froze the mud beast, leaving the fighters astonished by his prompt loss of the beasts in their back. The administrator asked about Taehoon's personality, to which he abruptly responded that she ought to leave to endure. Feed and Wook locked in yet again with the mud beast, with Wook striking it on various occasions. The commandant was dazzled by Hyun-wook's overwhelming strength, understanding that he could rival weapons in terms of killing power. Regardless of the flood of stirs up around the mud beast, it began recovering. Taehoon flagged Hyun-wook to move away, and he quickly got the leader, making a run for it as the mud beast recovered. Taehoon seized a gas canister and flung it towards the animal. Lighting it with a lit lighter, Using his expertise, the subsequent blast inundated the mud beast in flames. Sunmi noticed that fire makes soil solidify. Tihun then used his new expertise, wrapping his hand in dark skin, and delivered a single, strong punch to the beast, overcoming it. Everyone present stood in awe of Tihun's unbelievable power. Subsequent to overcoming the beast, Tihun consumed the mystical sphere, fortifying himself further. The commandant started thinking about the sudden appearance of these beasts. The previous evening, the officials who had gotten comfortable with the state of affairs were slaughtered quickly. Communication was disrupted, and her gathering was obliterated. The apprehension about the adversary had made the warriors lose their determination. Through great effort, she managed to gather the remaining soldiers and hold the defensive line. Anyway, seeing her comrades slowly die individually, she gradually felt weak. At that point, Tihun moved toward the commandant and asked if she was the authority, and she affirmed it. Tihun instructed her to promptly restock the necessary weapons and initiate the liberation of the remaining enemies. He pointed out that there were 33 fighters still alive. However, fewer than 10 of them had battle strength. While talking, Tihun arranged his gear and equipped himself with a firearm. He then ordered Sun Mai to go and recuperate the injured warriors. The remaining people, including Hyan Wook, were assigned to watch the larger group of troops. Finally, Tihun would handle the remaining beasts. He asked that the leader, identified as the lieutenant, seek shelter behind him. The commandant hesitated, stating that they didn't have any idea who Tihun was. In response, Tihun illuminated her that the beasts seemed more coordinated than before, suggesting the presence of a commander among them. He emphasized the need to kill them at their source, as they would regrow otherwise. There wasn't a moment to spare, and he encouraged her to prepare quickly, assuring her that introductions could be made later. Tihun, accompanied by the fighters and the leader, charged at the beasts. The commandant realized they had no method for counterattacking. Tihun showed great marksmanship, precisely destroying the beasts. Suddenly, 2 beasts attacked from behind, yet Tihun quickly spun around and polished them off with his gun. As he and the commandant advanced, she marveled at Tihun's accurate shooting abilities and wondered who he genuinely was. Then, an abrupt impact occurred, and Tihun promptly covered the commandant, shielding her. It was the leader of the beasts, a wizard-like creature. Tihun commented that he had found it, while the leader couldn't shake off the overwhelming sense of mistreatment, noting that it resembled the mud beast they had encountered before. Without hesitation, he quickly ran towards the wizard beast, encouraging the officer to help him. The wizard beast instructed other beasts to block Tihun's path. Tihun drew his blade and quickly dispatched the beasts hindering him. In the meantime, the commandant started shooting at the wizard beast. However, the wizard raised his staff, conjuring an enchanted shield that blocked the bullets. Not only that, but he also lifted his hand, reflecting the projectiles back towards Tihun. Reacting quickly, Tihun dodged the incoming bullets. He then used his expertise to toss the blade at the wizard beast. The knife's speed managed to get through the wizard's shield and destroyed his staff, eventually leading to the defeat of the wizard beast. With everything settled, the authority examined the situation as Tihun had anticipated. The tide had changed. All the enemies within the barracks had been demolished, and they had successfully recovered the lost front line. The advancement was rapid. Sun Mai used her secretive ability to treat the injured, while Hyan Wook assisted with restocking the equipment from the weapons store. Tihun sat alone, enjoying a drink. The commandant moved toward him silently, and Tihun ended the silence by addressing her as Kim Su-jai. He asked her to pose any questions she had, as such opportunities may not arise again. Kim Su-jai offered her gratitude again and asked how he knew her name. Tihun inquired whether Brigadier General Kim Il-sung, the former leader of the capital military district, was her grandfather. He mentioned meeting him alongside Major General Jang Young's son in the military general district a while back, when Kim Su-jai was also present. Fragments of her memories flashed through her mind, recalling Tihun with General Kim Il-sung, who mentioned meeting again in the future when Kim Soo-jae would be enlisted. However, her grandfather warned her not to seek any information about them or interact with them in the military, as they were a group without affiliation or rank, much like ferocious wolves on the battlefield. Now, certain that Taehoon had been a soldier, Kim Soo-jae added that even the commandant of the tactical region was not within the special division. Taehoon mentioned that she must have already heard this from the brigadier general. He moved toward her closely and suggested assembling all the fighters to work out an agreement. Kim Soo accumulated the warriors as Taehoon reported his expectation to lay out an association. Taehoon presented them with a decision: they could go along with him or stay at the military camp, continuing to manage its tasks. Taehoon stressed that they shouldn't expect help would come from the capital. As the catastrophe had impacted the whole country, almost certainly different regions face comparable conditions, with communication disrupted and the military battling to control the situation. Taehoon affirmed that it was now up to the warriors to decide whether or not to accept and follow up on this reality. Kim Soo pondered the situation, understanding that everyone had already guessed this outcome. They simply hadn't wanted to confront the harsh reality and instead sought to adapt quickly to the new world. She then asked about the advantages of joining his association. Accordingly, Taehoon used his expertise to crush an espresso can. He explained that by joining, they would get access to all the information he had, increasing their chances of survival in this chaotic world. Thus, the warriors joined Taehoon, embarking on their journey in a truck. Kim Soo began pondering the lessons they received from Taehoon's group. It was incredible how quickly they absorbed the information he provided. Although they required significantly more information, the immediate issue at hand was already overwhelming. Hae and Wook acknowledged that it might be difficult for everyone to accept, but it was the reality. All the names of the beasts and gear came from Hae and Wook. In ordinary times, Kim Soo would have considered spending first-class time in a mental hospital. However, based on her new experiences, she found herself believing in him. The sudden appearance of beasts also led to the discovery of human renewals within their ranks, including Taehoon, Sunmi, Kim Soo, and 2 others in the military. As long as there is a design, it means that you have awakened. Although initially, it is the same as normal individuals. By killing beasts and ingesting their enchanted gems, the quality traits and attributes of the awakened could be enhanced. Various degrees of beasts had varying abilities, identifiable by their pupil colors. By absorbing the enchanted crystals, the awakened could improve their traits and confirm these changes using a phone. Among the different magic crystals, there were troll magic crystals, which provided a small increase in basic quality traits upon use. Dark orc magic crystals increased strength, body, and pneumatic strength capability. They also enhanced physical defense. Dark skin magic crystals consumed pneumatic strength, resulting in increased physical defense and unlocking the ability of dark skin, as demonstrated by Taehoon in his latest battle with the Mud Beast. Mud monster magic crystals increased strength, physical defense, and had the added effect of consuming pneumatic strength to speed up recovery. In conclusion, Troll Farce and magic crystals increased magic capability and magic control capability. They also unlocked the ability of Ancestor Vision, which allowed control over powerful beasts and provided early warnings. Taehoon had consumed various magic crystals, including advanced beast magic crystals. His comrades had also ingested a significant number of these crystals. They even convinced another Awakener and Kim Soo to consume them. No one uttered a word of objection. Instead, they recognized the potential benefits. In fact, the bodies of the beasts could be utilized to provide significant knowledge. After ingestion, Sun could learn to make pills using the horn of the troll shaman, the meat of the mud monster, and the sacred grail. These pills had various effects, such as quick healing and recovery from the mud monster's meat, as well as the mysterious power of the troll director's horn. The pills resulted in small increases in fear resistance, regenerative ability, concentration during battle, pain resistance, and rapid strength utilization. An expertly trained team could even face 100 trolls. However, when high-level beasts were present in the beast group, their thunderous presence affected the awakening process. Overcoming this required a higher level of energy to resist fear or recover quickly. Tahoon instructed Kim Soo that if they encountered a beast group with advanced beasts, she should distribute these pills to the soldiers. He also advised her to equip first-class Wok and Sunmai with military uniforms and body armor and to teach them shooting skills. Later, Tahoon explained that military uniforms were specifically designed for the battlefield, offering protection from being easily targeted by beasts. He emphasized the importance of using their abilities and clarified that the guns were to be used only to save lives, as poor shooting skills would only disrupt the team. So Hyun, Wook, and Sun Mai found themselves wearing military uniforms. Hyun Wook couldn't help but comment on the situation, saying, "Who would have thought I could put on the military uniform that I've always longed for in this situation?" He then turned to Tahoon and asked if he wanted him to come up with the association's name, as it seemed like a crucial matter. Tahoon responded that since he had already volunteered, he could make the decision. Hae and Wook revealed that he had actually thought about it a long time ago and suggested the name Now in Guang as they represented the way and the light. Suddenly, a young soldier appeared and proposed the name Mac for the association. Kim Soo recognized him as part of the three-man team. The young warrior introduced himself as Chang Sun Hoon and explained that Mac was a mythical beast that devoured nightmares. Sung Hoon, although not an awakener, offered to assist Tahoon. He continued to listen attentively to what Tahoon had just said, understanding that the value of those artifacts was akin to cutting-edge weapons. Sun Hoon then asked Tahoon if he could call him boss. He suggested that their next target should be a museum, specifically the Toxophilism Gallery, which happened to be the nearest one. Tahoon complimented Sung Hoon, saying his foresight was good and suggesting that he probably wasn't a police officer. He then asked about his previous occupation. Sun Hoon responded that he was an expert in forging, selling, and smuggling artwork. Tahoon gathered his pack and informed everyone that they would leave in 30 minutes, instructing them to be on standby. Hae and Wook praised Sung Hoon, commenting on how cool he was and asking him to take care of them in the future. Hae and Wook felt choked by everyone's sincerity. During this time, Sung Hoon pondered Tahoon's demeanor, thinking that he likely wasn't someone who easily trusted others. He wondered if Tahoon even saw him as a significant asset despite his reputation in the circle. Sun Hoon found Tahoon's gaze more terrifying than the beasts they had encountered before, and with that, the report concluded. Returning to the present operations, Sun Mai and Hyun Wook discussed the military uniforms and felt a strong sense of connection. Sun Mai wondered if they had known each other for a long time. Hyun Wook praised Tahoon for his brilliant plan and the safety provided by the vehicle, which made them less afraid of smaller beasts. Hae and Wook expressed their interest in Tahoon's profession, prompting him to ask if the two sisters wanted to return home. He shared his initial concerns for his family but expressed relief at the current situation. However, he also feared that consuming magic crystals might eventually turn him into a beast. Suddenly, a fire broke out on their way. The soldiers inquired about the cause, and Hyun Wook stated that it was a fire. Kim Soo questioned if it had been deliberately set by someone since the area was unlikely to catch fire naturally. Sun Hoon speculated that in cold weather, a fire indicated a problem and mentioned that people often face secondary disasters, such as fires, after being trapped under collapsed buildings. The group decided to stop and investigate the fire. Tahoon stepped out of the truck and instructed everyone to take the pills and prepare for battle. He assigned tasks to each member. Chang Sun was to drive and secure a retreat route. Kim Soo was to seek shelter. Sun Mai was to be ready to heal the injured, and Hyun Wook was to follow Tahoon and participate in the attack. Soon, small skeletal wolves appeared, and Tahoon ordered Hyun Wook to eliminate the beasts approaching the vehicle, assuring him that he could handle it for 3 minutes without any issues. Tahoon focused on dealing with a larger, more advanced beast called the skeletal wolf. He aimed his gun, preparing for the battle ahead. Amidst the turbulent fight, The troopers participated in battle with the little skeletal wolves, quickly dispatching them. Not entirely settled to keep the wolves under control, handily kept any from drawing near. In the meantime, Tahun concentrated on the gigantic beast, focusing and discharging his weapon. Anyway, regardless of his precision, the beast showed striking deftness, easily sidestepping each shot. Immediately jumping all over the chance, the animal lands towards Tahun, yet he masterfully evaded its assault and fought back with a very much pointed shot. Shockingly, the slugs had meaningfully affected the beast, leaving Tahun immediately staggered. Unfazed, the persistent beast countered with a horrendous swipe of its paws. Tahun figured out how to dodge the strike, quickly reversing the situation by utilizing the blade connected to his weapon to cut the beast. In getting away from the shopping center with a strong culinary expert, he drove the injured animal away. Sidestepping one more assault, Tahun saw that this beast had a comparable solidarity to its ancestors, yet its deadly capacities not set in stone to conquer this imposing enemy. Tahun continued discharging his weapon, just to find the beast determinedly fighting back. Understanding that traditional means were deficient, Tahun pursued a speedy choice. He shut his rifle and kept firing, every shot pointed with accuracy. As both he and the beast released concurrent assaults, Tahun handily sidestepped the beast's attack and drove the blade straightforwardly into its skull with a quick and conclusive blow. The fight reached a conclusion. Arising successful, Tahun remained among the officers and different survivors, holding the top of the vanquished skeletal wolf victoriously. The enchanted precious stone inside the wolves remains guaranteed an expansion in power upon utilization, as well as enhanced solidarity to further develop actual safeguard capability and elevated pneumatic strength capability. Also, the gem opened the extraordinary expertise Wolf Yell, made plans for the colleagues. Teaching Kim Soo-jae and Bang Hai, they whooped to remain in the vehicle with the others, while on Sunmayan, Chang Sun-hoon would go with him inside the historical center. Moreover, Kim Yurong was delegated as impermanent leader in Tahun's non-attendance. Regardless of the shortfall of quick dangers, Tahun underlined the significance of withdrawing to the sleeping quarters for self-security during times of emergency.
Kim Tae-hoon's precise and powerful way of taking down the monster left everyone in awe, solidifying their respect for him. In just half a day, he had already taught them how to charge their phones using car batteries, how to dissect monsters, and other survival skills. He had refused to accept ordinary civilians into their group, a decision that had relieved the soldiers. After all, he wasn't wrong. His overwhelming presence made it clear that those abandoned had no room to retaliate. Yet, Hyun-wook still tried to persuade him for the sake of one particular girl. Kim Soo-ji stood firm. As a soldier, I cannot abandon anyone. Sunmi added, most of the men can use guns, and we need women for administrative tasks. Tae-hoon turned to them, considering their words. Then, he gave a short nod. All right, I'll give them a chance. Hyun-wook, surprised yet relieved, grinned. Thank you, brother. Chang Sung-hoon muttered. This is surprising. I thought he would refuse. Without wasting any time, Tae-hoon ordered the soldiers to move the monster corpses. Then, he turned to the civilians excluding children and gave a strict command. Holding up a severed monster's leg, he said, you have 30 minutes to cut this off. If you can't, you're just a burden. Disgust flashed across their faces, but fear of being abandoned outweighed their hesitation. Their survival depended on following orders. In the end, only 22 people passed the test. Tae-hoon had planned this from the start. If he had accepted them outright, they wouldn't have listened to him so obediently. But if the monster corpses could be useful, they would need manpower to dissect them. Chang Sung-hoon's gaze shifted to a golden cup, now filled with a reddish liquid. His eyes widened in confusion. What is this? Grabbing the cup, he ran toward Tae-hoon. Boss, look at this. The cup filled itself up. Tae-hoon took the cup, his expression unreadable. Chang Sung-hoon hesitated. Boss, what are you planning to do? Tae-hoon's eyes darkened as he recalled something. I remember. This object can make people dream of the future. Without a second thought, He tilted the cup and drank every last drop. The soldiers gasped in alarm. Boss! Before anyone could react, Taehoon's veins bulged unnaturally, his entire body convulsing. The pain was excruciating. His body collapsed onto the ground, and within moments, he lost consciousness. Panic spread among his men. Boss, wake up. Somebody do something. Darkness swallowed him whole. When he opened his eyes, he found himself in the middle of a ruined city. Rubble and destruction stretched as far as the eye could see. Smoke and fire choked the air. With a groan, he pushed himself up from the ground, his body moving on its own. What's going on? Am I dreaming? A familiar voice called out. Boss! Taehoon turned to see Chung Sung-hoon, also sprawled on the ground. He rushed over, offering his hand. Are the others dead? Chung Sung-hoon forced a weak smile. Boss, don't worry about me. Just run. Taehoon frowned. Something felt off. He examined Sung-hoon's face, noticing a fresh cut. But no, this wasn't a new wound. What happened? Sung-hoon gritted his teeth. If this continues, you'll die. That guy will be here soon. If it weren't for you, Taehoon didn't let him finish. He dragged Sung-hoon to a nearby vehicle and placed him in the driver's seat. Go to Gyeongju City. Sung-hoon's eyes widened. Boss, wait. But Taehoon shut the door before he could protest. His voice was firm. Deliver my message to Commander-in-Chief Lim Hyun-joon. Sung-hoon shouted. Damn it. You don't have to sacrifice yourself. Didn't you say we fight to survive? You don't have to do this for those bastards. Taehoon's thoughts raced. Gyeongju City. Commander-in-Chief Lim Hyun-joon. What am I saying? The weight of the pressure pressing down on him was overwhelming. Just what is this thing? Out loud, he shouted. Hurry and go. Its target is me. I don't want to drag you into this. Chung yelled back, Boss, don't be ridiculous. But after a moment of silence, his voice softened. Boss, you have to come back alive. With that, Chung drove off, leaving Taehoon standing alone. Just what is this? Suddenly, the air shifted. The weapons scattered on the ground began levitating into the air, their blades gleaming ominously. Taehoon gripped his sword tightly, pointing it straight ahead. A shadow loomed in the distance. A monster massive, monstrous. His breath hitched. I'm strong, but I can't beat him. Even with all my strength, clenching his teeth, he roared, Bring it on. The creature revealed itself. An enormous, cycloptic beast with massive wings, radiating a strange, terrifying energy. Taehoon's eyes widened. This guy, this was the one that flew past us yesterday. Summoning every ounce of his power, he prepared to charge. But suddenly, the world around him shifted. His eyes snapped open. Voices echoed around him. Brother, wake up. Boss, wake up. He blinked, his vision clearing. His soldiers were gathered around him, relief on their faces. He was lying on a stretcher, sitting up slowly. He muttered, What? Sunmi exhaled. Boss, you should rest a bit longer. You've been unconscious for hours. Taehoon placed a hand on his head, still trying to process what had happened. I saw my death in my dream. Silence fell over the room. After a moment, he let out a dry chuckle. How inauspicious. Bring me a cup of coffee. Someone quickly handed him a cup. He took a sip, his mind still reeling. Sitting on the chair, he spoke again. I don't know who will survive, but I know one thing for sure. I will die. The room remained tense. Hyun-wook muttered, So that golden cup, it really can predict the future. Taehoon nodded. Based on Chung Sung-hoon's appearance, it should happen in 3 to 5 years. Chung straightened. Then we have time. We can change the future. Taehoon's mind raced. Commander-in-Chief Lim Hyun-joon. Right now, he's stationed at Pocheon City's ex-missionist infantry corps as a colonel. It's not the front line, and they have enough firepower. That means those troops still exist in the future. Sunmi speculated, maybe there's another organization trying to get rid of you. Chung Sung-hoon frowned. Then we need to collect these artifacts. We can't let them fall into the wrong hands. Hyun-wook said, Brother, don't worry. Since we know the future, we can change it. Outside, a chilling sight awaited them. The streets were crawling with monsters, feral creatures that resembled giant, mutated boars. Their tusks were jagged, their eyes glowing with rage. Tae-hoon stood beside Hyun-wook, assessing the situation. All men, ready your weapons. Save your ammo. Leave those monsters to us. Yes, sir, the soldiers shouted in unison. Among the survivors, fear spread like wildfire. What is that? Someone gasped. The parking lot was flooded with pig-like monstrous figures, their guttural growls filling the air. Tae-hoon took a deep breath. Then, with a single motion, he stretched out his hand. A surge of energy pulsed around him. The force blasted outward, sending vans, vehicles, and even some of the monsters flying backward. The creatures roared in fury as they were slammed away. Tae-hoon ordered to Hyun-wook, "Kill them all." The civilians gasped, whispering among themselves. Aren't those monsters too strong? Why did they stop? Are they trying to die? The monsters regained their strength, pushing the vehicles aside and charging forward once again. Their deafening roars echoed through the air. But before they could attack, Hyun-wook lunged forward, swinging his baseball bat with full force and sending one of the monsters flying. Tae-hoon, on the other hand, met another beast head-on, delivering a powerful punch that sent it crashing to the ground. The crowd held their breath in shock. One by one, Hyun-wook and Tae-hoon struck down the monstrous creatures with sheer strength and precision. Hyun-wook fought relentlessly with his bat, while Tae-hoon used his raw power, crushing the monsters with devastating blows. After a hard-fought battle, they finally took down every last one of the monstrous boars. A soldier muttered in awe, "He's more terrifying than the monsters themselves." Another added, "These boars are as strong as rhinos. Transporting them is going to be a nightmare." Tae-hoon turned to his soldiers and gave orders. "Head back to the military camp. Get uniforms and weapons, then rig up a car. We're setting up camp here." As the soldiers began loading the vehicles, one of them called out, "Chung Sung-hoon and I will scout the area. The rest of you, guard the entrance." The men worked swiftly, carrying supplies and stacking them in vehicles. Someone warned, "Be careful with the grenades." Another ordered, "Move the filtered water to the second floor." Night fell. The group sat on their vehicles, taking a moment to breathe. But suddenly, the sound of an approaching car shattered the silence. "Someone's coming," one of the soldiers shouted. All men on alert. Guns were raised, aimed straight at the incoming vehicle. But then, Kim Soo-ji squinted and recognized it. "That's a colonel's car. Lower your guns, but stay alert." The car came to a halt, and stepping out was none other than Tae-hoon, accompanied by a girl and Chung Sung-hoon. Tae-hoon announced, "I'm back." Sunmi hurried over, handing a blanket to the shivering girl. Kim Soo-ji eyed the stranger suspiciously. "Who's that girl?" Chung Sung-hoon answered, "Her name is Baek Ji-yeon. We found her while patrolling Bucheon City." He continued, "At first, we thought it was a monster attack. We saw a corpse, its head completely severed. But the cut was too clean, too precise. It wasn't done by a monster. It was done by a human." Sunmi sighed. "The world is big enough for anything to happen." Another soldier added grimly, "The real problem is that this is only the beginning." According to her, Baek Ji-yeon had warned them of something even more disturbing. "There's another organization in Bucheon City," she had said. "They call themselves the Messiah. Their leader is Lee Sin-sung. Their group is several times larger than yours, and they have many awakened among them." The atmosphere grew tense. But then she had revealed the most horrifying part. Every 10 days, they sacrifice a person to a monster they call the Yellow-Eyed Devil. Hyun-wook's eyes widened. Sacrificing normal people to a monster. Those lunatics. Chung Sung-hoon's expression was grim. "As terrifying as that sounds, what worries me more is how they managed to control the Yellow-Eyed Devil. Also, I was startled when I heard about the awakening from that woman. I also learned that it was separate from the survivors in the supermarket near the town hall. They even had a name for the men who saved them, the apocalypse hero." "It's not that big of a deal," someone muttered. But before the discussion could continue, Tae-hoon stepped in. "Enough, everyone. Pay attention." His words silenced the group. Whatever he told them next made their expressions turn pale with fear. They shouted in disbelief. "You want to go alone?" Kim Soo-ji spoke up. "If the other side has bad intentions, our troops can easily overwhelm them." Hyun-wook stepped forward. "Brother, I want to go too." But Tae-hoon remained firm. "They are only held together by fear. If we eliminate their leader, they'll crumble like loose sand. But we don't even know how strong they are. Someone argued. Taehoon's voice was unwavering. We won't need a prolonged battle. Besides, he smirked, I'm most skilled at assassinations. They knew there was no point in trying to stop him. He would do what he wanted anyway. As he walked toward his vehicle, he turned back to his soldiers and said, It's October 1st, 7:22. If I'm not back by tomorrow at 5 p.m., move all the weapons from the military camp. Kim Soo-ji will assume full command. Yes, sir. They responded in unison. Sunmi whispered, I hope you come back alive. I don't want to die at the hands of those maniacs. Taehoon didn't reply. He got into the car and drove off toward his destination. The entire city was silent. Inside a supermarket mall, a group of armed men sat near the windows, watching the freezing night. It's so damn cold. One of them muttered, Yeah, what horrible weather today. Another agreed. One of them glanced around. What happened to Group B? Another man scoffed. They went to deal with that woman who tried to escape, but they haven't come back yet. Someone else spoke up. The scouting team hasn't returned either. Think they ran into monsters? One of them shook his head. There's only the yellow-eyed devil in this area. The rest of the monsters ran away. Another sneered. Who knows? Maybe they're having fun with that woman right now. I just hope they don't drag us into. Before he could finish, a car screeched to a stop outside. The men inside the mall stiffened. They grabbed their weapons and stood up. Is that the scouting team? One of them whispered. Could be a monster. Another muttered. A group of armed men moved cautiously toward the entrance. But before they could open the doorbang, Taehoon's car crashed straight through, slamming the doors wide open. Who are you? The men inside shouted, but Taehoon didn't answer. He revved the engine and plowed straight into them, knocking down anyone in his path. The remaining men scrambled, shouting in panic. Where did this madman come from? Who the hell is he? They ran toward the truck, but when they opened the doors, they found no one inside. One of them stammered, It's impossible. The truck can't drive itself. A man in their group, wearing a steel helmet and gripping a spear, growled, Stop talking nonsense. Find him. But before he could take another step, a cold blade pressed against his throat. He clenched his teeth, realizing too late, Taehoon was right behind him. With a calm, deadly voice, Taehoon whispered, If you don't want to die, drop your weapon and answer my questions. The man swallowed hard. Why yes? Taehoon asked. How many people are inside? How much firepower do you have? The man stammered. There are 50 men in the building, 60 captives on the second and third floors. The boss is on the top floor. Taehoon's eyes narrowed. And the yellow-eyed devil? The man hesitated, but then confessed. It lives in Sinyung-dong Station. The monsters around here don't dare go near it. The assault team went in there once. Only the leader came back alive. After that, he started sacrificing people to the monster. The man's voice trembled as he continued. Then he gathered a group of awakened. They hunted monster corpses and took all the power for themselves. He's not even human anymore. He can spit fire. His sword can slice monsters in half. Then, with a sick grin, he added, You know, there are plenty of beauties here too. If you want, I can. Taehoon's grip tightened. I have no use for traitors. Before the man-core reactor, Taehoon slit his throat in one swift motion as the body crumpled to the ground. He muttered to himself. So the information was accurate. Unless they are willing to fight with their bare hands, they will be useless against me. All the people were dead, but the remaining ones charged toward Taehoon. He said out loud, I do not want to repeat myself. Lay down your weapons and stop resisting. But they didn't listen. They rushed at him, shouting, Die! Swinging their handmade weapons, Taehoon swiftly took them down, slashing their throats one by one. As he moved toward the supermarket corridor, 2 fireballs suddenly came at him. He dodged just in time before pulling out his gun and firing. A man in black armor, wearing a steel helmet, blocked the bullets with his hand. Taehoon narrowed his eyes. I hit him in his vital spot twice, but he's unharmed. His clothes must be protecting him. The man dodged another bullet, drank something, and hurled another fireball. Taehoon barely avoided it, spinning 360 degrees. The man behind the bar laughed. You're the apocalypse hero? Looks like I'm gonna have some fun. Do you want to sit and talk? Taehoon analyzed the situation that the man is Lee Jin-sung. Lee Jin-sung continued, the world descended into chaos. When I escaped from the Changya district, I thought I was the only one who survived. Buchan was surrounded by countless powerful monster territories and became an uninhabitable land. Incheon, Saihung, Gwangmyeong, and Gimp were already occupied by monsters. Taehoon's eyes narrowed. He's stalling for time. He glanced at the sword in the man's hand and the black armor covering his body. That outerwear, it looks like it's made from black orc skin. Lee Jin-sung continued, "Why are you attacking us? Are you not used to our way of doing things?" Lee Jin-sung scoffed internally. This man is an idiot. At least 10 people coming here after listen gunshot. Meanwhile, in the elevator, a group of armed men were coming up fast. They were panicking. "Hurry up. Something happened to Lord Messiah. I heard a gunshot. If we're late, we're dead." Lee Jin-sung smirked and said, "Do you want to cooperate? Using Buchan as a springboard, we could develop well. We could achieve great things together. We shall establish a hunting organization here." Just then, the elevator doors opened. The people rushed out, shouting, "Lord Messiah, are you okay?" Lin Jin-sung shouted to his men, "He's on your opposite side, behind the second pillar from the left. Hit him." His men immediately followed the order and rushed toward the second pillar. But when they got there, they found nothing. Their eyes instinctively moved upward from the pillar to the shelf above. There, standing on top of the shelf, was Taehoon, gun in hand. Without hesitation, he opened fire, taking down the men one by one from behind. Lee Jin-sung, seeing the chaos unfold, sprinted toward the location with his sword drawn. For a brief second, he caught sight of Taehoon above the shelf. Without wasting a moment, he slashed his sword, cutting the entire shelf in half. But when the dust settled, Taehoon was nowhere to be seen. Lee Jin-sung shouted, "Where is he?" A voice came from behind him. "You are not worthy of that blade." Lee Jin-sung's face twisted with rage. He swung his sword wildly in all directions, slashing at Taehoon. But Taehoon effortlessly dodged every attack. Then, in a swift movement, Taehoon thrust his hand toward Lee Jin-sung's chest and struck his leg, forcing him to his knees. Grabbing his chin, Taehoon slammed him into the ground. Lee Jin-sung coughed and gasped for air. Who are you?" Taehoon, now holding Lee Jin-sung's blade, didn't respond. Instead, he pointed the sword directly at his body. Lee Jin-sung's eyes widened in fear. Don't kill me. I have a lot of men working under me. We can maintain peace if we work together. If we join forces, the yellow-eyed devil will be nothing to us. I beg you." Taehoon's expression remained cold. "I refuse." With a single slash, he cut Lee Jin-sung's throat. Blood splattered as his body fell lifeless to the ground. Taehoon obtained a Sword of Imperator, Relic Level 2, Relic Value, Special, and a Flaming Gourd, Relic Level 5 effect. Uses MP to create flame vines and grants the ability to breathe fire. As the fight ended, Taehoon's soldiers arrived. On the other side, Lee Jin-sung's remaining men stood, tense and unwilling to back down. Taehoon spoke, "For conditions in total." One of the men scoffed. "Are you threatening us?" Hyun-woon clarified, "First, all awakened in Messiah serve the Mak clan. Second, you hand over 40% of your cores weekly," someone shouted. "We never agreed to that." Another protested, "We still belong to Messiah." Chung chuckled, "You still don't get it? This isn't a negotiation." Enraged, a gang member charged at Chung with an axe. "An ordinary guy like you dares look down on an awakened?" He ranted about his past authority before attacking. Taehoon raised his hand, pointing an arrow at the man's head. The attacker froze, then collapsed to his knees. Taehoon said coldly, "I should kill you all, but I'll give one last chance. If you use violence again, don't blame me." The men fell silent. Taehoon lowered his arrow. "Report to me every 3 days." The terrified man quickly responded, "Yes, yes." Afterward, Taehoon, standing in front of his soldiers, said, "We will go hunt the yellow-eyed devil in a few days." They all sat in their chairs, and in front of them, a movie was playing, showing the yellow-eyed devil. They watched it in disbelief, murmuring, "Are you kidding me? Is it really that strong?" One of them said. "Boss, you cannot win this," another added. "Agreed. This monster is a lot stronger than the one we fought before. Taehoon responded firmly, "There is no choice. We need to take risks if we want to survive this apocalypse." Hyunwoon spoke up, but Taehoon cut him off, saying, "Also, I am not fighting alone. The whole Mak clan is on the move.